find myself trying to understand. Why do I exist? Why am I here? What's the purpose of this life? People in vast numbers, the sense of swarming population on the planet transfixes me. Why do I do what I'm doing? It's a constant question to me, really. Why am I doing what I do? You set off on a journey.
It is a very difficult thing to talk about.
You either see it out or you don't.
I guess if I was able to articulate it, I wouldn't need to do this.
Still have to start again, start something again.
It's a feeling that sometimes is attainable in the work.
I was always making things. I played with toy soldiers, and that became a very real world for me. And I sometimes think that was my toy soldiers were almost my first experience with sculpture, and the handling of those was a vivid imaginary experience for me as a young person. Increasingly, I'm starting to cram them into the structure so that the whole structure will be clad as though it is entirely made of figures. Working by yourself really does entail a going inwards, and sometimes that can be a very uncomfortable experience because your mind, I suppose, is questioning your activity. But then sometimes you find yourself in a connectedness with what it is that you're doing that takes you beyond the mind's agitations, I suppose, and that is another world. I remember beginning to have very dark dreams. Sort of find myself in a kind of concentration camp environment. One night I think I even sort of dreamt that I was sort of just lying under piles of bodies or something, horrific, and that went on for quite a while. I was a little bit sceptical of that sort of thing. But anyway, I went along to a clairvoyant. And I went in and the woman said, "Oh yes, she died in a concentration camp in a past life." I don't like to think I'm sort of fixated on tragedy. Maybe we come into this life with traces of memory. I had a child's white rubber rabbit. Its cuteness just seemed so much at odds with the complexity of the world around it. I decided I'd make a carving. So when you begin to focus on a particular image, you start to find parallels for it, or associations start to crop up. I came across a photograph of Adolf Eichmann holding a white Angora rabbit. I found the strangeness of that happenstance really peculiar, and I began to make work with my rabbit and the image of Eichmann. I mean, it's like a residue of what's happened, basically. There's so much more to the making of work than is ever seen in the gallery. Making a piece at the moment that has 540 small figures, they're slightly smaller than that, constructed into sort of like a tower block almost. Quite a difficult thing to carve a crowd like that from the one block of tin. They're kind of a similar scale to the figures that I'm whittling at the moment. I should be whittling 540 metre modes. It'd be a much more popular work. There are just more and more of us experiencing all manner of the extremes of life on the planet. Danger, catastrophe, upheaval. I mean, we're seeing one another in ways in which I don't think we've probably ever seen ourselves before. I think of myself as being alone, yet the world is rushing by me outside. The human interaction on the planet just constantly fascinating. And sometimes aloneness can feel like a sharp edge. But then the other side of it is almost an ecstasy. And I think you swing between those two things when you try to create.